We're on for week 4. All right. You guys can't tell, but we're doing this a little earlier than normal and a little later than normal. Um, I'm traveling this week to the conference, so we got to play around the host's schedule, and it looks like everyone made it. So despite haircuts and whatever time miscommunications and all that good stuff, pushing it back.
I had no plans.
And it's football preview are your plans. That's all. Oh man, what a week. So did anyone watch? There's no real big headlines this week, and I don't want to jump right into injuries. So I'm just going to ask if anyone watched and had thoughts on Body Bag Game Part 2 that took place between Washington and Philly. The fight that broke out and some like in the teens of injuries.
That was really the most noteworthy game of the week.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
One thing that did come out of that today that I saw, the hit on Foles that started that fight, what was his name? Chris Davis. That hit was ruled legal by Troy Vincent today.
It's not legal. That's the Hines Ward rule, the crackback block. You can't do that anymore.
That's
Right.
That's I know. I felt the same way. For one, it was that kind of block.
Mhm.
2, it was just dirty as hell, and cheap as hell. And 3, Davis said he didn't know that it was Foles. There's no way. I mean, the one tall white guy other than Riley Cooper on the field, no way he didn't know that was Nick Foles.
That's absurd.
Yeah, that's a dirty hit.
The big thing that no one seems to be talking about the hit is the biggest thing that I think makes it dirty is that the play was basically over. It was like a second away from being dead, being tackled. And he got blasted from like 10 yards away from the action.
Yeah, there's nothing going on.
Just to refresh my memory, other than myself, how many combined years of experience do you guys have playing any sort of high school, collegiate football, anything? Any total football, years of experience?
I played 1 year on the second grade 55-pound team as the starting center.
One year. Go ahead, Max, you got any?
No.
Mark, you got any?
I'll hang up and listen.
We can say, I guess it's flag.
I played all my life, all throughout high school, and that's, as a defensive player, that is what you dream of. You gotta. They always tell you, put your head on a swivel and you look out for people. Until you hear the whistle, the play is not dead. Mm-hmm. Anything that happens, and he got his head across, so he didn't hit him in the back. Yeah, it's a 700-pound man versus a frail little quarterback. But that's the hit that you dream of. And if the officials themselves are coming out and saying that it wasn't a dirty hit,
well, it wasn't. Go ahead. Finish.
Where do you guys get off coming in and saying that? That's ridiculous.
Because listen to this. It's the same kind of hit that the NFL has, for the past 3-4 years, has been trying to get out of the game. Whether you like it as a defensive player or not, someone that's the hit that you dream of, those kinds of things are what they're trying to get out of the game. Whether that changes
you can't put a helmet into a quarterback's chest in the pocket. What makes you think you can level one?
Football rules. The rules have changed since you have played.
The helmet was not in his chest. It was
but just
to the
general.
Side of it, where his shoulder pads was, like up here.
Wasn't even looking at him.
If you're defenseless or not, that's why the game is a contact sport, and you have to keep your head on a swivel. You have to pay attention to everything until the whistle's blown. The whistle's blown. If he's going down and the whistle still isn't blown, then Foles needs to do what Ben Roethlisberger did about 2 weeks ago whenever he tried to go out and lay that block. I don't know if you guys remember or not, but he ends up just like whiffing it bad and then just curling up in a ball. You just get down or you get away from everybody. You don't even run towards it.
Well, here's the thing. There's a difference between legal and clean. That was it. But legal is black and white. It's either legal or illegal, and it sounds like it's legal. Was it a dirty hit? Yeah, absolutely. Probably. Absolutely. Like everything that Hines Ward did his entire career, like got him the reputation of being a dirty player. Now, granted, most of the hits he put on people were legal, but they were still dirty hits.
Okay. With that being said, I don't fault Foles' lineman or offensive line for coming to his defense. I mean, you don't want to see your quarterback get hit at all being an offensive lineman, and then especially if something that could be perceived as dirty. to come through and throw a few punches for him, that's fine too. It's just funny hearing everybody who's never played football dropping the hammer. Oh man, so dirty.
You learn.
Especially
you can't
coming
learn
from
anything from
Eagles
football.
fans.
You act like you can't learn anything from football by watching it. And
It's a different mentality. Whenever I go out there and I say, "Hey, rip this guy's head off," now to the outside world, people are like, "Oh my gosh, he's talking about decapitation. He's talking about cannibalism because you're going to eat his brains." No, it's not the case. There's a whole different mentality playing on that gridiron, that football field, and that's just one of them. Keep your head on a swivel, and if you have the opportunity to hit a quarterback legally, you take it. Nothing
I would
dirty.
argue, even illegally, you take that hit in a heated rivalry. You just take the fine. It's dirty, but that's like that guy is not like a star or anything. Just take your shot.
But this day and age, that's a hit. If it was illegal, if it was deemed illegal, and he did do it, and he would get fined, you're also facing a suspension at this point.
I don't think he gets suspended.
If it
We're
was
arguing.
an illegal hit, he would have. There's no doubt. That's the league nowadays. Whether you like it or not, that's the league.
I think he gets a fine.
James Harrison.
I'm surprised
So
we
what,
can
get
hear
the
you
game.
on this. I'm surprised we can hear you on this podcast, Seth, up on your high horse all the way up there. Oh, I played football. I know.
Oh,
Everything else.
Since I was in like
I don't know that that's a great showing, but
first grade, that's a lot of football experience coming from this guy right here.
All right. Well, that hit, I mean, damn near killed Nick Foles, but there's plenty of other injuries to be had from week 3 to go back over real quick. One I'm going to go both sides of that game that have fantasy implications. Philly, the offensive line right now is decimated. Obviously, that doesn't impact no one on the offensive line impacts anyone, but behind that offensive line, Shady and Sproles are not going to be the same type of running game that we've seen over the last year there, so that's something to look out for. Jason Kelsey is likely out till week 10, and Lane Johnson I think comes back after this week from his suspension. But I mean, it's a far cry from last year where they had 5 guys, 16 healthy weeks of football. The other side, the Washington defense is completely banged up. D'Angelo Hall, their top safety, done for the year, ruptured his Achilles. So that's something to look out for. They were already a defense that, they showed spirit. I know they had 10 sacks. It was against Jacksonville. That offenses are going to be able to move the ball even easier, I would say. Some guys are going to be playing hurt, so they're definitely not 100%. More. Let me just run down the list here. So you got Minnesota. Matt Castle is out, so that welcomes that. The shoes in the Teddy Bridgewater era there.
It's exciting.
And to the 2 rookie quarterbacks that came in. So you had Bortles also started last week for injury. Or he didn't start. I'm sorry. He got into the game. I think that was more of just a blowout.
Yeah.
There.
And he ran that 2-minute offense pretty well.
But I wouldn't be surprised if you see more of him soon.
I think he's starting now.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just
I feel bad for him.
Take a break from injuries. It's one of those things that it's Jacksonville.
If you're starting Blake Bortles, you need to make a new hobby.
You got issues. So other quarterback injuries. Josh McCown is probably going to miss several weeks with that.
No, my team.
Oh no, Jake Locker, questionable. Brain right wrists. Other big injuries, running back Danny Woodhead is out for the season. That sucked. He was actually doing all right for San Diego.
Yeah.
Arian Foster, this killed me. I don't know why I drafted him. It's for this reason exactly that I questioned it. He may go. It's 50-50 right now whether he goes, but guy to look for there, Alfred Blue, who I swiped up early on Sunday morning when they announced that Foster was out.
Arian Foster's got the Scarlet Q on his chest now. You're going to see a lot of that.
Questionable. It's going to be for the rest of the year.
Scarlet Q.
The hamstring, man. Jonathan Stewart, not sure about this week. He could play, he's got that spring knee, but D'Angelo Williams could be back for this week. and Tolbert's out, so the whole three-headed monster they have there is probably not going to happen. So running backs that'll be back this week. Jamal Charles likely, but Mark, you were saying you're probably going to pick up Niall Davis.
I can't. I'll have to pick up Joe McKnight as like an extreme last-ditch solution.
That's right. So look for Jam Chaz could be back, but not positive. So just keep an eye on it. Other ones that are coming back: Pierce in Baltimore, Doug Martin apparently in Tampa Bay, and Ben Tate maybe this week, but more likely next week. Again, those are guys. If you're starting them, you got problems. Tight ends really took a hit this week. Dennis Pitta is done for the year in Baltimore.
Dislocated hip. That sucks.
Brutal.
I can't even. That's just painful. And a big target for Flacco there, so that's going to be missed. Kyle Rudolph.
Owen Daniels. Now it's Owen Daniels.
That's a sneaky
that's a pick up there from here.
until he gets hurt. So who's next time?
Yeah.
He's the offensive coordinator, so hooking back up with him. And then Kyle Rudolph is going to be out for a little bit. I know it's a Minnesota tight end, so I don't know. It's one of those situations where if you're using anyone on the Vikings roster, you're probably in trouble. But he was, one of their more high-profile, more used targets. Wide receivers, Roddy White probably going to return. Rod Streeter in Oakland is out indefinitely.
Oh no!
Vincent Jackson expects to play through a small wrist fracture, so look out for that. That could get worse if he's taking hits. T.Y. Hilton is expected to be all right for this week, and Eric Decker, who is on my roster, came out in the middle of the game on Monday night with a hamstring situation. I don't know what to expect there. Let's sort of keep an eye on it. He'll probably play. He played through it this week and probably will again. And then Chicago. Brandon Marshall, saw him get re-aggravated on Monday night. He'll probably play through it again. So that's our little laundry list of injuries. So I don't know if you guys saw anything else that you wanted to call out.
I don't know.
That was a pretty exhaustive list.
Yeah.
I don't know if people are starting the Steelers defense in most leagues, but that's something to note too. That our number one corner got taken out, plus two really good linebackers.
One pick.
So yeah.
And but on the same token, you re-signed Harrison today. So.
Which is going to be great for PR.
Yeah.
I saw somewhere that him and Tomlin had a domestic violence conversation today.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Good.
Was that before or after the selfie he posted?
I don't know.
Did you see that? Anyone see that? He posted a selfie with him on Twitter.
He is not a smart man.
All right. But that brings us to right and wrong for week 3. Looking back, would you guys do well? Not so well. I think we have only one winner on the panel this week. So
hey, and it's the person y'all made fun of. I did something right. Oh yeah, I actually did. I made good decisions instead of bad. Good things happened to me instead of bad things. Pretty good week. I made a prediction on the show that actually was correct. If you started Brian Quick, you got a modest return on your investment. You had 15 points, and that proved to be the margin for me.
See this? You see what I'm doing?
I can barely see anything.
I'm putting my arm around Mark because now he's on his high horse with me. How's it going, Mark? How's it feel? I make good decisions. I give people good advice.
That's basically it. It was just Brian Quick. Everyone else
Brian freaking Quick.
Yep.
Enough.
You didn't have anyone else to play. Don't listen to him out there. I'm looking at his team right now. He had no one else. Oh, let me start Josh Gordon suspended. Let me start DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah, right.
Actually, that would have been the same number of points. Because he broke 100.
Well, my wrong goes back I even further to the draft. I really did a really terrible job drafting running backs. I got stuck with Foster. Stuck with I don't want to say stuck with because Frank Gore is a workhorse, but he's just getting up there in age. I got a combined Alfred Blue is in my flex. He was my top performing running back with 8 points on Sunday.
Wow.
Frank Gore got me 1. Darren Sproles got me 3. So I really did not do well drafting running backs. I know Sproles had a sort of breakout first 2 weeks, and last week was sort of an anomaly in terms of just the offense really didn't get things going, even though they put up 37 points. But what I did right is I have far more wide receivers than I really need. So I got 5 on my roster. Looking at here, 5, 4, 5, yeah. 6, and 5 of them scored double digits. So
Wow.
clearly I did something right there. So if any one of you wants to trade extra running backs for some extra wide receivers, I'm more than willing. So just give me a shout.
I was the other half of Mark's coin. Everything went wrong. My predictions were all wrong. I said Tampa Bay were going to make it interesting against Atlanta. That's
They
hilarious.
did make it interesting.
So that was a bad omen on Thursday of last week, and then Cam Newton just I don't know what to think of Carolina. Chris Johnson might as well just be riding the pine, like in actual football, not even just in fantasy. Zach Ertz had his worst game of the season. I didn't start T.Y. Hilton. He had 9 points. Sean Green had 9 points. I didn't expect that. He was on my bench. Everything. My kicker had 1 point.
That doesn't happen in our league. Our kicker, Mark, for whatever reason,
Loves his kickers.
scores every week.
I don't change the rule unless people motion to vote to change the rule.
I think it's like
I don't-
think in our league, if you even attempt a 50-yard field goal, you get 3 points.
No, you get 1. Well, you get 2. I screwed it up. You get 8 points for a 50-yard field goal now because
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. 8 points.
you get 6 for the, or no, you get 7 points. 5 for the 50-yarder. Then you're supposed to get 1. My rationale was if you missed a 50-yard field goal, you should get a point because your coach had the confidence in you to attempt it.
Yes.
But I did 2 things wrong. First, I made it for the 50-yard attempted, plus you had an extra point for 50-yard missed because I thought the same thing twice and then people went off. But then even worse, I applied the same settings to a made field goal, so you just get points. Lots of points.
Not even these crazy superhuman kickers in our league can generate points for my team. 1 point. New Orleans.
We all made fun of my brother who doesn't care about football at all for drafting Gostkowski in like the 8th round. But then when I asked him about it, his reasoning made a lot of sense. He said, like, I have insane scoring for kickers, so maybe I should draft the best kicker and get a lot of points.
That's
How
fair.
did he know that? How did he know the kicking rules? You go
Because
and read.
it's clearly posted.
Unreal.
He reads the rule.
Reading the rules.
Oh,
This
man.
dude
I just assumed they were the same as last year, but
They are. They've been like this for 3 years and nobody's said anything.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
God awful. Seth, how
Um,
about you?
what went right and wrong? Well, what went wrong is I watched back in February, all the way back in February, I watched a little thing called the Super Bowl. So I don't know if anybody else has watched out there, but if you watched the Super Bowl, you would have known that Denver got absolutely manhandled by Seattle. So, whatever, 8 months, 6 months later, Seattle plays Denver again. I'm deciding who I wanted to start, Percy Harvin or Emmanuel Sanders. And I said, you know what? Denver's just going to get blanked by Seattle again, so I'm not going to start any Denver wide receivers. Payton's going to get destroyed all game. And then Emmanuel Sanders ends up putting up like a career day, like 150-some yards. And Percy Harvin, which maybe this will hurt me because there's 3 people in my league, he is not good. He is not a good wide receiver.
Not in fantasy. In real life, he is.
Yeah.
He's a good package guy.
He looked incredible week 1, man.
Yeah, he really did.
He looked good, but they don't utilize him enough. Some very important downs, and I'm watching the Seahawks play, and he's not even on the field. I mean, not as a distraction or anything. They don't give him. He's not like a true number 1 wide receiver. I think like if you had him playing in your flex, you'd probably be happy. He got 5 points, but I mean, besides Emmanuel Sanders, he was the second wide receiver I took. So, I mean, in the draft, people like Cordero Patterson and Jordy Nelson were going. So, if I would have started Emmanuel Sanders over Percy Harvin, I would have got the win. But I don't know. So I'm firing my coach. He's no getting a new team name, everything next week.
Oh God. All
This is
right.
a serious question. Did anyone else know that the Seattle-Denver game went to overtime? 'Cause I
Yeah.
didn't.
Absolutely.
I
It
turned
was
it off
You
amazing.
turned
Why
it
did you
off.
turn it off?
Yeah. because they. I thought they were going to run the clock out.
Seth,
Wow.
Seth, in your defense, Denver really was getting manhandled for
They were.
most of that
Yeah.
game. It was 17-3 going into the fourth, I think. Like, maybe that close.
Right.
It was ridiculous.
And I mean, again, that maybe I should have thought more along the lines that Seattle was going to try to run the ball, play clock management, just do enough to win, not necessarily pour it on. And I knew they weren't going to be behind, so they weren't going to throw a lot. So that would also hurt Percy Harvin. But at that point, I still kind of believed in him to be a impact player, and like essentially at any point in the game he could score. Like, I'd be surprised if they don't put him on their like Hail Mary coverage and he intercepted it and run one back. I mean, he's just that talented of a guy, but at least in their passing attack,
They
they
haven't
don't
had
use
that
him.
kind of speed on that team, and Manning with that kind of speed on the outside is just unreal. I mean, it's like a completely different weapon for him, something that he's never really had. He's always had big guys to throw to, but now
Yeah.
he's got someone that can get behind defenders and he can just loft the ball up to him. So it's crazy. So on that note, looking back at last week one more time for MVPs of last week, I'll quickly start with, I'm going to say two, and they're tied together, is Julio Jones and Matt Ryan, who for 2.5 quarters put up 31 and 24 points respectively on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, I don't know. If they played the full game, it would have been ridiculous. They were on pace to match or exceed the largest point spread in game NFL history. It was like 56-0 at one point, and I don't know how you get better than that.
I would say. Oh, go ahead.
No, that's it. I'm complimenting Ron. Nobody responded, so I guess we all agree with what he said.
Silence, crickets. You're in all of my analysis.
I'm impressed. I'm very impressed. Someone that not many people really seem to talk about is Martellus Bennett, tight end for Chicago. He's been having a really good year. Week 1, 14 points. Week 2, 10 points. Week 3, 18 points. 70 yards, 37 yards, 54 yards. Not a lot of yardage, but he has had at least one touchdown in each game. And last week, this week, I guess it's still last week he had 2 touchdowns. So he's really good. And on my team, DeMarco Murray, he's the only thing that works. So he's my personal MVP.
On the Bennett note, I want to throw out one point that I did pick him up last year halfway through the season because he was sitting on waiver wires.
Wow.
And which was crazy. And he had a good stretch of like 2 or 3 weeks, but then the end of the year came, and I don't know if it was the cold weather in Chicago or something, but he went flat. So that's just something to look out for towards the end of the year. But right now, yeah, you can't go wrong if you have him on your roster. You're doing well.
Martellus Bennett is the rich man's Jared Cook. You always see the potential, and he'll flash it like this, but then when you think you have it in your grasp, pull it away from you. And I always wondered, because I've always kind of wanted to own him, and maybe one of these years I'll just put it together for like one whole season. Maybe this is the year, but he'll break your heart. You'll waste 5 years trying to get that one good year.
I got a weird one for MVP, and I was trying to think of a way how I wanted to sneak it in. So, parallel universe Jamal Charles, and what I mean by that is, if Jamal Charles didn't get injured, what he would have been able to accomplish on Sunday, because if you take all of Kansas City's backs and you add them up, it would have been a 44-point day for Jamal Charles. Niles Davis had 18 points. Silas Gray, I think his name is Cyrus Gray, had 7 points, and Joe McKnight had 19 points. I don't know a lot about the team just because I don't follow them very well, and I think that Niles Davis is his backup who can definitely run the ball, but I don't think that they trust him third down back and catching the ball. But that's what Jamal Charles is. He's overall catch, run, everything. And I think if he would have been healthy, he would have put up monster points. So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
it's also just to calm people's concerns with Jamal Charles, because I know he has 2 points, 0 and 0. He's a stud. Keep him, and you're going to be happy whenever he does put up a 44-point day.
It'll happen. It's due. He's due.
On that note, Mark, do you want to trade me Jamal Charles?
Sure. What do you got?
All right, good. We'll talk later.
Mark, did you give your MVP for the last week, or are you just gonna use your time of ripping Bennett to?
Oh no, I'll pat myself on the back.
Fair enough.
I correctly picked the real MVP last week in segment 4, which is MVP for the upcoming week, which is now the previous week, and that was Andrew Luck.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, and he's the one-man band. He does it all. He uses touchdown passes. The team around him is not overly good. He's typically behind, so he throws a lot. They have no running game, so even when it's 1st and 1, turns around, play fake when you're a touchdown pass. So he's not a victim of his own success because there's nothing around him. He can't rely on any of his teammates to do anything, so it's just all him. He's more likely to just like QB sneak for a touchdown or play fake or heave it, and it's the best thing ever. He's going to be the best player in fantasy this year, and he's the most fun to watch. It's a joy to even know that I could have owned him in that league. I have him 1 out of 3 league, and I feel like I own all 3. Just a great fantasy player.
That's awesome. So does that? I mean, do you even need to talk for this next segment of the upcoming week? Is it going to be Luck again?
All right. Well, you said it. I was going to segue a little more, like gradually into it. Yes, Andrew Luck.
All right. Fair enough.
Number 1 player overall every single week until further notice.
Max, how about you for the upcoming week?
For the upcoming week, I don't even know anymore. I don't know anything about fantasy
Just
football.
say Andrew Luck.
Don't listen to me.
Everyone say Andrew Luck.
It's so funny. I mean, I feel like you feel like you have a grasp on fantasy football, and then 1 week happens, and it just blasts everything you think you know to pieces.
Yeah.
You're going to have a fantasy football preview intervention.
Yeah.
Are you losing it? Don't lose it on air.
No, it's one of those. It's so funny when things are going poorly in fantasy, and they're not going poorly. I just lost my first game, but I lost in such a fashion that it's just crushing. We've all been there when your team. Yeah, right.
You lose confidence.
You're like, how am I ever going to win another game? Like, there's no way I'm going to make the playoffs with this ragtag bunch.
Yeah.
But so yeah, sure, Andrew Luck. Bet on Andrew Luck.
I'm gonna take a page from who he played last week and apply it to next week's MVP, and that's Phillip Rivers, who has Jacksonville coming out to San Diego to play them, and Rivers is coming off a pretty good performance at Buffalo.
That's a trap game. I'm just gonna say right now.
I like it.
That is. I'm taking Jags. Whatever the spread is, I'm taking Jags.
No game featuring Jacksonville is a trap game.
The spread is 13.5.
Yeah, I'll take Jags. San Diego just beat who they just beat? Buffalo, undefeated team. Jags get humiliated by the Colts. So everyone is going to be like, "Yep, the Chargers are great. Jacksonville's terrible. They're going to destroy them." That's a trap game, I'm telling you.
I'll say this about Phillip Rivers. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to do my MVP. Did you do your MVP, Phillip Rivers, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to say Phillip Rivers is good, but he's weird good, where he's a good quarterback and he's also a pretty good fantasy quarterback, but it's good in the way of like 17, 17, 17, 17.
Yeah.
It's like cold, methodical.
Yeah.
And it's not even like I got to throw to my top receiver. It's just I got to throw to this open receiver, which is a novel concept. But you'll think you'll have Keenan Allen penciled in for like 100-yard and a touchdown every week, and he'll start throwing to Malcolm Floyd for like weeks at a time. Eddie Royal, bubble screen touchdown.
Eddie Royal, yeah.
And he'll just like stroll on in. Like Rivers will get his win with like 260 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like not too bad, but you win the game. You played well in a middling performance, yeah. And you just keep getting it. It's solid, but it's not flashy.
Yeah.
Fair.
I like for MVP. I like Matt Forte coming up this week. I think he's got a good matchup against Green Bay. Marshall's kind of banged up again, and so is I know Jeffries and them are playing through the injury, but I think that he's going to come on big. They're going to work to get him or look to get him involved a little bit more. Screens, runs. So watch out for him for a big week this week.
Good, I like it. And so moving on to matchups to look forward to or avoid. So obviously, you got. I'd like to start with one. You're talking about trap games. I have the quintessential trap game for you this week.
Let's hear it.
Detroit coming off of a monster win, only their 6th in the last 14 years or so against Green Bay, and they're traveling to the Jets, who are coming off a short week, and have Geno Smith at quarterback and all that. They're playing in New York, and I would be concerned if I were Detroit. I know they're going into it favored. It goes back to them being a terrible road team. Matthew Stafford is not good on the road. Calvin Johnson, you put the ball in his hands and he's fine on the road, but Stafford just loves to make mistakes on the road. He's not a great road quarterback, and no matter who they're playing, he just seems to find ways to lose. He turns into a Geno Smith almost on the road. So I'm concerned about Stafford going into New York. That's one to look out for and potentially avoid. And the other one, sort of along the same lines, is Atlanta going up to Minnesota. I know it's another one, you look at it on paper, it's like, oh my God, Atlanta should blow them out. And likely they may. But Atlanta this year has just been a team that, I know it's only 3 games in, but you look at their road games versus their home games, and they're a completely different team this year. They went up to Cincinnati. What's that?
Sorry to cut you off, but it's only 2. They played 1 road game.
I know. But you go over Atlanta over their last, dating back to 2012, I think it was. I looked. They've lost 10 of their last 12 road games. So they're not a good road team right now. And I know last year they were injured, but this is going back to another year beyond that. And when they're not in their dome, something happens to them. And being up in Minnesota where it's starting to get a little colder. You gotta. It's to the point in some places now where you have to take weather into account on Sundays. And Atlanta probably comes away with the win, but it's another one to sort of consider to not get so high on what you think the turnout's going to be for them.
I'll give you this one because at first I flinched because I thought, oh, they're going to the Metrodome. It's just Matt Ryan in another dome.
No, they're
not exactly.
Yeah,
they blew that up.
Rob, I'm going to piggyback off of your idea about Detroit and the Jets. Detroit, well, actually, first of all, I think the Jets are really bad. So
yeah.
I don't know if that's so much of a trap game. I think I kind of disagree. But I kind of agree with you because I think Detroit is going to be overrated because of that win over Green Bay. And I think Green Bay is sneaky bad this year.
Yes.
I think they're really bad.
I don't even think they're sneaky bad. I think they're just bad.
Well, people always give Green Bay respect because they've won a Super Bowl with that coach and quarterback, and it is Aaron Rodgers, who's a very good quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
They are road favorites this week.
That team, I think that team is bad.
I know. Well, I'm telling you, Vegas has them as a road favorite.
And so they're overrated, and the Bears are underrated. I like the Bears a lot. I think the Bears are really good.
Yeah, Green Bay is getting far too much respect, and
yeah.
Their defense is terrible right now. They can't stop anyone.
So is their offense. 7 points with those weapons that they have. They scored 7 points. That's embarrassing. That's ridiculous. So Bears against Green Bay. I really like the Bears in that matchup.
Cool.
I got
both sides of the ball.
I got some fun trap games since I think this is where we're going. This is what this segment's turning into.
Trap games.
It's so much fun. I'll give you one nobody cares about first, but a good trap game is Miami going to Oakland.
I love Oakland in that one.
Yeah, Oakland is probably going to win that. Miami has to travel cross country, play a late game, and they're not very good, and they're going into like a hostile road environment. But
and their coach doesn't believe in their
cares.
quarterback.
Nobody owns any of the players on the team, so it's largely irrelevant. But it's fun to know. And the good one, which I need to look at my computer because I forgot what it was. Oh, this is a really good one, and you're going to enjoy this, Rob. Tampa at Pittsburgh. Now, here's why.
Oh, good. 'Cause that's mine, Mark.
Oh, really nice. Okay, the Steelers are on a fast track to 4-1. They play Tampa this week and Jacksonville next week. So I think it's the letdown trap game where they're counting their wins before it happens, and they get a nice soft game at home. And first of all, are we sure Tampa is as bad as we think they are? Like, everyone saw 56-0 and put them number 32 in the power rankings. But before the season, they were like a trendy playoff team.
Yeah.
Now they had a horrible quarterback who's no longer in there. They have a mildly competent quarterback, and the personnel, other than McCown's, going to be mostly there. Like, Martin sucks, so who cares about him? But, I mean, it's essentially their team, the team that we thought was good enough to
You can run on us. You can run on the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't know why Carolina didn't. If you watch the Baltimore game, that's all they did was run on us. Bernard Pierce and Forsett. I mean, and Tampa Bay's got good running backs, and they've got three or four more days to prepare. They had a Thursday night game. The Steelers had a late Sunday night game.
Yeah, I think they were preparing for that game during the second half of their last game.
Yeah, for real.
But Tampa, they lost their first 2 games by a combined total of
They're going to be coming out angry too.
Yes.
I mean, you think about that last game; they're going to be coming out to prove a point. I don't know if they're going to come out to the point where it actually makes a difference because they're bad. I mean, no matter the hype they had going into the season, they're just not good right now.
Yeah.
And I understand the Steelers were gashing Carolina, which is considered to be a really good defense for run yards. But if you look at some of the ways that we scored and how we got up, it was fluky. I mean, like interceptions or turnovers on like their 20-yard line, and then we scored. That's just not. I don't know. That's just not Steeler football. We don't get those weird turnovers or balls that go 10 yards in the end zone and then we recover them. That's just not what normally happens. So,
in a sick way, this is like a good test to see if the Steelers actually are good or not. And it's sad it comes against the team that everyone thinks is the worst team in the league.
Yes.
The last couple of years, they don't take care of business in the easy games.
Yep.
Well, at least not early in the season. Later in the season, they'll demolish these teams, but they come out of the gate so sloppy the last couple of years. This is the type of game that they either lose or
young quarterback. There should be no excuse why we don't absolutely wreck him, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than what people think. I think that the running backs for Tampa Bay are going to have a good day. So, man,
Vegas has the line at 7.5, which
I think I'd take Tampa Bay.
Well, I would too, but it seems weird that it would be so low because you think like the worst team in the league.
That's real weird.
It's a road game, so usually 3 points is like the typical home advantage.
Yeah.
So basically, they're saying like neutral field, Pittsburgh's 4.5 points better than Tampa.
Against the
That's
worst
not a
team
big
in the
margin.
league?
Yeah.
That's suspicious.
That is super suspicious.
And Pittsburgh's a public team too, so they're getting a lot of action always. So their line's usually artificially inflated. So you would think the line would be higher to deter betting.
I think a lot of people put it on Tampa.
No, it's usually the other way. Pittsburgh's a public team. Everyone bets Pittsburgh.
What I'm saying is I think the Sharps put it on Tampa. I think
they should.
Whatever the line was, it drove it.
That's what
down.
This game screams like sneaky cover to me.
Yep.
This is like textbook.
Crazy. Well, I don't know if you want to make it a bold prediction.
There are no such things as bold predictions anymore. This league is crazy this year. This league is crazy. No one knows anything. Like, what? Does anyone have an explanation on San Francisco? What is San Francisco?
I picked it like 6 and 10.
I got to tell you, I've been avoiding talking about that one because I don't know what the hell to think of that game. I don't know what the hell to think of it. Philly's going out west. They looked like hell last week. They have no offensive line anymore. And San Fran, who are they? They're a first-half team. Philly's a second-half team.
Yeah,
what is going on?
Nick Foles looks amazing again. That was a great call. I mean, it's funny because I'm watching him with Archie, and Archie has him as his quarterback. The first couple of weeks, he was like, "Oh, geez, I could have got this guy or that guy," and now he like Foles is just putting up like 30 points. Like, yo, what's up? Like easy, and he just looks good doing it. Balls are accurate. I mean, I gotta tell
you, he's still missing some wide open guys, man. He had that throw to Jeremy Maclin behind the defenders, just overthrew him by like 15 yards. Selleck wide open in the middle of the field, 5 yards in the end zone, and he just underthrew him. He's still making some. The other thing to be concerned about too that no one is like seemingly talking about right now. He went down hard on that left shoulder. He is not feeling good right now. I mean, he was shoulder. He was holding that shoulder the rest of the game. So that.
I'd be more concerned with the Eagles internally, because I mean you have people coming out and speaking against the media. You got to wonder if Chip Kelly has the McCoy just said something about Sproles, like, he's not going to come out. He's a smart guy. He's not going to come out and say, hey, I want more touches or I want more plays. But he said, hey, I think there should be a way that we could utilize both me and Sproles. That sounds like a nice way of saying, put me in. I'm your workhorse. So
yeah,
he is, but he's been less productive.
What?
I said he is, but he's been less productive.
It's too early to tell.
Well,
He hasn't been that bad.
Yeah, and he did have a concussion last game.
Yeah. So.
I'm just telling you what McCoy said. It's not Seth. Seth didn't go on the record saying that. McCoy did.
Enough.
All right, I'll make
Let it go.
I'm gonna break into this Philly talk and make a bold prediction based on this primetime matchup. And it goes like this. Jim Harbaugh will resign as head coach of the 49ers after the season and take a job as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
I like that.
And I keep feeling this way. And I picked them to go 6-10 before the season. You're seeing like the undisciplined play from like a traditionally disciplined team. I think they're tuning out his message. And it's these strong-willed coaches. Like if you're not buying in, things fall apart fast. It's like Harbaugh knows what he's doing, but it's similar to what happened with Schiano, where you just kind of tune out that nonsense. And once you start losing, you're not going to like kick a guy in the groin because it's the Schiano way when you're down like 35 because you don't care anymore. Yeah. And I think San Francisco falls apart. Harbaugh resigns, and he almost went to Cleveland. Like nobody talks about that.
Right. Yeah. He almost didn't want to come back to San Francisco.
So I don't think he gets along with that front office. I think he resigns.
Wait, who almost went to Cleveland?
Harbaugh.
Over
the offseason.
Over the offseason.
They were going to trade him for like 2 first-round picks.
Yeah. Yep. I like that. I don't think he stays in the NFL, though. I think he goes back to college.
Oh, no. He's taking a big money job in the NFL. It's either Dallas or the Jets.
I like Dallas.
Interesting. All right. Who's next for a bold prediction?
Julian Edelman, top 5 wide receiver this week. They're against Kansas City. I think Tom Brady finally becomes Tom Brady, and I think they pass a lot. That's what I'm going with.
That was the most exciting bold prediction I ever saw. Let's get this bold prediction.
Done.
Julian Edelman.
I'm trying to decide.
I'm going to call attention. I was close on my bold prediction last week. You all laughed at me that I said Brady wasn't going to throw a TD pass against the Raiders. He only threw one.
That's
the only
true.
touchdown of the game.
So we were right to laugh.
I'll give it to you.
It was an ugly game there, man. That was terrible.
I think
you guys see all the Kowskis were all responsible for every point in that game.
Fantastic.
Gronkowski, Sebastian Janikowski, and Gostkowski. Ridiculous. But my bold prediction is that Kelvin Benjamin at Baltimore will go for over 202 TDs.
Ooh.
What? That is an insane prediction.
It's an insane prediction. That's why
only if Derek Carr, or only if
the bold prediction.
What's his face plays? Derek Anderson. It's not gonna happen with Cam Newton getting sacked every 2 minutes.
We'll see.
Or a bad defense. Don't let that
get you. Mike Evans, 100 yards and a touchdown.
Who's Mike Evans?
Tampa Bay.
He was 6 overall in the draft.
Boo.
Wasn't he the Florida State guy? Or no, that was
A&M.
A&M. That's right. He was Manziel's guy. Max?
Cam Newton gets back on track and throws.
Max is done. Max is done with bold predictions. We don't know anything about fantasy football. We're done with
Tampa Bay has ruined me for all bold predictions. I went on a limb for them, and they put up the worst NFL showing of all time.
Can we just go over what everyone's bold prediction was? Max already touched on his. Mark, what was yours last week?
Last week?
Yeah.
It beat you, Ryan Quick. I said 100 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Wow, yeah. I said Eli Manning was going to have a top 3 day. He didn't, but he had his best game of
That's right.
this year. So 17 points. That's not bad if you listen to me. Hey Max, I would have been better if I would have started Manning than Cutler.
Oh yeah.
Uh huh.
Funny.
Aaron Rodgers, he outscored. Kaepernick, he outscored. And Jay Cutler, he outscored. So.
Crazy. Well, anything else for the go to the order going into week 4, folks?
I'm going to predict, this is a very bold prediction, no arrest in the NFL between now and
It would be a first for this year. So.
I was gonna say that Cincinnati doesn't win their game this week. So.
And I will say this: if there is an arrest,
man.
No, Max, I'll bet you $50 they don't win this week.
Who do they play?
I don't know, but it doesn't matter. They're not gonna win.
They have a oh no, they played. Oh no, that's last week. Hold on.
Guarantee, Max, $50 right now.
who's this?
Cincy doesn't win this week.
Max,
Take
don't
the bet,
tell-
Max. Take the bet.
Who do they play?
No
I'm
one.
not gonna tell you. You have to. How much faith do you have in them?
Buddy.
Ah, dang it.
Yeah, that's
Sorry,
buddy.
I'm not in good faith as the host of the show. I can't let a co-host, a co-star, lose money on a bet for.
Oh, so now he's a co-host, huh? He didn't get the promotion, huh? It's because he doesn't wear.
He's showing up
perfect
more than you,
attendance.
my friend.
That's a perfect attendance, Getty.
Hey, I'm EP, so don't worry about it.
Oh man! All right. Well, that's right. Check your buys this week. If anyone's still watching the show at this point, there's 6 of them. Make sure you got Pat. Well, guys in our league's team is wrecked by buys this week. He's got like 7 of his starters are on a buy.
That's a good strategy. We didn't talk about that, but I'll say briefly. I like getting all the buys out at one time.
Absolutely.
And then lose the game, and then
it sucks for 1 week, but if you're gonna lose, you got them all for the rest of the year. So that's crazy, but cool. So check those and check back with us next week for week 5. So we'll see you guys then.